All right, folks, how you doing? Welcome to Mars, Atlantis, and the Hollow Earth, Part 5. Disclaimer, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. No copyright infringement intended. All rights belong to their respective owners. So in this presentation, we're going to be looking into The Biggest Secret by David Icke. And I absolutely love that thumbnail. I'm the shit. Yeah. Oh, that's got to be one of my favorite pictures of David Icke. So The Watchers. I have absolutely no doubt, this is, of course, David Icke's words, not mine. I have absolutely no doubt that the Anunnaki and the Watchers are the same reptilian race. It is from this region of Iran, Kurdistan, Armenia, Turkey, and the Caucasus Mountains that reptile human bloodlines emerged to take over the world. The name Iran comes from the earlier Ariana or Aryan, land of the Aryans or Aryans. Still today, there are two distinct races in Kurdistan: the olive-skinned of medium height with dark eyes, and the much taller white-skinned people, often with blue eyes. Andrew Collins in The Ashes of Angels presents compelling evidence that the biblical Garden of Eden was in this region of Iran Kurdistan. The serpent is at the heart of the Eden story. Higher dimensions. Look at how the Book of Enoch describes the Watchers. And there appeared to me two men very tall, such as I have never seen on earth. And their faces shone like the sun, and their eyes were like burning lamps. Their hands were brighter than snow. This would connect also with the ancient description of gods as the shining ones. Many extraterrestrial races operate in and around the earth. There are different reptilian factions, those who are more positive in their attitude to humanity, and those who wish to dominate and control. It could well be that the legends of Saint Michael casting the dragon onto the earth for the final battle and Saint George defeating the dragon relate to the long standing conflict between the genuine white Martians and the reptilian Anunnaki, fallen angels. Those of the main angelic groups in Hebrew lore. One of the main angelic groups in Hebrew lore is the seraphim, or fiery serpents, and the Watchers are connected to the description of serpents. The Book of Enoch features walking serpents. The birth of the human Watcher child in the Book of Enoch is that of Noah, a reptile-human hybrid, and many peoples have sought to claim descendants from Noah, descendants from the reptilian Watchers and Anunnaki. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, Noah is described as looking like the children of the fallen angels of heaven, whose conception was due to the Watchers and to the Nephilim. In Jewish lore, Eve is seen as the ancestral mother of the Nephilim and associated with the Hebrew words meaning life and snake. The Golden Age. The very name Enoch means initiated. The theme of the fallen angels giving forbidden secrets to humanity can be found in the Book of Enoch. Among those is Azazel, who taught the art of metalworking, and Shemyaza, who taught the magical arts. Extraterrestrial races have been visiting the Earth for millions of years. In the distant past, there have been highly advanced technological civilizations based on this extraterrestrial knowledge. A golden age, as the ancients called it. Around 450,000, excuse me. Numbers is not my strength. Around 450,000 years ago, the Anunnaki arrived. and they sought to take over the planet. It is probable that they had by this time also settled and occupied Mars. Probable? See, it's a bit more likely than probable. Oh, they definitely had. Advanced civilizations. As the flood waters receded after the Venus cataclysm, sea parts passing, the survivors came down from the mountains and up from within the earth and began to rebuild. This was when Sumer, Egypt, and the civilization in the Indus Valley suddenly appeared at a very high level of technological advancement. After the upheavals, the Sumerian society began at the peak of its development because of this sudden infusion of knowledge, and the white Aryan race, originally from Mars, expanded down into Sumer, Egypt, and the Indus Valley, where highly advanced societies emerged. Humans have an internal clock which is in sync with the sun. The extraterrestrials knew this. It is the physical and spiritual heart of the solar system, and it came to symbolize the creator, he who is the light of the world. Mystery schools. I think the early Egyptian civilization after the Venus upheavals was the work of the Aryans from Mars, the Phoenicians with or without the reptilian Anunnaki. The mystery schools went back at least 30,000 to 40,000 years. There were those of positive intent who wanted to use the mystery schools to give the knowledge to people they believed would use it wisely, and I am not suggesting that all these schools were malevolent. Certainly not. Use of knowledge. As Manly P. Hall, the Freemasonic historian, wrote, while the elaborate ceremonial magic of antiquity was not necessarily evil, there arose from its perversion several false schools of sorcery or black magic. In Egypt, the black magicians of Atlantis continued to exercise their superhuman powers until they had completely undermined and corrupted the morals of the primitive mysteries. Thus, black magic dictated the state religion and paralyzed the intellectual and spiritual activities of the individual by demanding his complete and unhesitating acquiescence in the dogma formulated by the priestcraft. Knowledge is not good nor bad, it just is. It is how we use that knowledge that is positive or negative. At the upper levels of this network, they know of the true power of the sun. And it's funny, I was watching a video yesterday, one of my favorite channels. I think it's called, let me just check here, Son of Saturn. It was the name of a video called Jesus equals Saturn, and I'll post it in the description below. And it was making the point in that video that the number 666 is the solar principle. And well, I'll let the video speak for itself. I'll post it in the description below. You can go check it out for yourself. Very interesting, very eye-opening. The whole idea of Satan and 666, the whole thing with Saturn and the sun. It's a whole thing to unravel in the future. I'll get into it down the line, definitely, but it's not something that you can just unpack in like 5 minutes. But it's very, very eye-opening. Let's get back to this. Aryan expansion. The white race and the reptile Aryan crossbreeds had emerged from the Caucasus Mountains after the flood to settle in Egypt, Israel, Palestine, and Jordan, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Turkey. There were other advanced peoples, not only here. Richard Lawrence, the Archbishop of Cashel, who translated the first English edition of the Book of Enoch from the Ethiopian, established that the author of the text had to have lived in the Caucasus region and not Palestine, as most people believed. This was where the main reptile human bloodlines emerged from, and the original text of the Book of Enoch was the much older Book of Noah, the reptilian crossbreed. The Aryan race was known under various names, the Hittites and Phoenicians. the Caucasus region. I think there were definitely other Aryan settlements outside this region, possibly Britain, and certainly the reptiles were operating in other parts of the world, or reptilians, I should say, like the Americas. But this mountainous region around the Caucasus and down to the plains of Sumer and Egypt is a key to the true history of humankind over the last 7,000 years. Under many names, this same Aryan people also settled in Sumer, Babylon, Egypt, and Asia Minor, now Turkey, and other Near Eastern countries, taking with them the same stories, myths, and religion. This is why all the major religions tell the same tale, but using different names. They all come from the same source, this Aryan race which originated on Mars. Egyptian gods. There is a simple reason why the Egyptians depicted many of their gods with white skin and blue eyes, in exactly the same way as other cultures all over the world did. This advanced race, called the Phoenicians, were white-skinned and often had blue eyes from Mars. Thus, we have the Scandinavian races, which were installed by the Phoenicians. The grandfather of the famous Egyptian pharaoh Akhenaten, the father of Tutankhamun, was a Phoenician high priest. The phoenix, the mythical bird of Egypt, was in fact the sunbird of the Phoenicians, the emblem of the sun god, Bil or Bel, and as it has been later symbolized, a peacock or an eagle. Evidence has emerged in recent years about pyramids on Mars when the NASA scientists discovered 6 enormous pyramids in Cydonia from Earth to Mars. It would make sense that the same Martian race would also build pyramids when they came to Earth, and the same can be said of the Anunnaki if they had settlements on Mars. The Phoenicians landed in Britain around 3000 BC. Phoenician artifacts have been found in Brazil, as well as possible Egyptian remains in the Grand Canyon. Hands up who's heard about that. The Phoenicians landed in the Americas thousands of years before Columbus. The reason that the native legends of the Americas speak of tall white gods coming from the sea bringing advanced knowledge is because that is precisely what happened. Great structures. The evidence of an advanced race who knew the Americas existed with centuries-old maps like the Haji Ahmed Portolan map, which depicts the North American continent with a wide causeway connecting Alaska and Siberia. There is also an accurate drawing of an ice-free Antarctica. The arrival of the Aryan Phoenicians in Britain also corresponds with the building of Stonehenge and Avebury in Wiltshire, although some say they were built much earlier. The advanced Phoenician Sumerians, who had a highly developed knowledge of astronomy, astrology, sacred geometry, mathematics, and the Earth's magnetic force, had all the knowledge necessary to build these great structures. Colonel L.A. Waddell. L.A. Try that again. L.A. Waddell said that he found Sumerian markings on one of the stones at Stonehenge. The stones not only formed geometric patterns in and around the circle, they also aligned to features in the surrounding landscape and to the positions of the sun, moon, and stars. It was a gigantic astronomical clock, but it is more than that. It is a receiver and transmitter of energy. The Earth's magnetic grids consist of ley lines, and where many lines cross, you have a vortex. These are the power places, the sacred sites of the ancients. Avebury in Wiltshire. Brian Desborough told me there is a point on one of the Earth grids where 12 of these force lines meet up and go down into the Earth. A place called Avebury in England, he said. the very place the advanced Phoenician Sumerians chose to build their stone circles at least 5,000 years ago, along with Silbury Hill. These form a sort of circuit board at the heart of the energy grid, which fundamentally affects the Earth's magnetic field. I have little doubt that the same race that built the structures in Cydonia, including pyramids, also built Stonehenge in Avebury. Another constant is the latitude of 19.5 degrees. This is the latitude on which sacred structures were built. 19.5 degrees. It is also where you find the volcanoes on Hawaii, the shield volcanoes on Venus, Olympus Mons on Mars, the dark spot on Neptune, the red spot on Jupiter, and the main area of sunspot activity north and south on the Sun. This is all this all fits because sunspots are emissions of electromagnetic energy from the Sun. 19.5 degrees is the point of energy. This is the effect of the Earth's wobble, which slowly moves the planets on its axis, or moves our planet at least on its axis. Ancient temples all over the world reflect these cycles. In their geometry and mathematics, the elite of the Phoenician Aryans had enormous knowledge of the Earth's energy grid and its potential to affect human consciousness. Sun worship. The mystery stone circles and structures are much less mysterious when you seek answers. They were built by the Phoenician Aryans. It is the same with the mystery white horses scored into the chalk hillsides of Britain. Its date of construction was about 3000 BC, exactly the period when the Phoenicians arrived in the British Isles. Their religion was focused on the sun, and the white horse was a Phoenician symbol for the sun. The great stone circles and structures throughout Britain, like Stonehenge and Avebury, were built with the knowledge of the Phoenicians. This knowledge included the ability to throw a magnetic field around a massive stone and delink it from the laws of gravity. While the Phoenicians were at work in Britain, the pyramids at Giza have also been dated to around 3000 BC. St. George and the Dragon. The lion was an Aryan symbol for the sun and was often placed at the entrances to temples and sacred places. Hence the lion bodied Sphinx, Leo, the sign ruled by the sun. The whole foundation of British culture and legend came from the Phoenicians. The battles between St. George and the dragon could well have been symbolic of the Martian reptilian conflicts, which seem to go back a very long way. They are the same deity. Queen Semiramis in Babylon and Isis in Egypt all were associated with water, as you would expect, with the Phoenicians, the force behind Egypt. Different branches, same people. The early British kings called themselves the Kati, and this appears on their coins. The Aryan Hittites of Asia Minor and Syria Phoenicia called themselves the Kati or Khatai. The Aryans who left the Caucasus to rule India were known as the Kayato. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Katayo. Katayo? I don't know how you say it. Anyway, the term Katai evolved through the Hebrew and English translations into the Hittites of the Old Testament. Kasai or Kasai, however you change the pronunciation slightly, was the title used by the first Phoenician dynasty around 3000 BC. Not surprising because these were different branches of the same people. The ancient Indian epic king list names some of the same people named in the Mesopotamian king list of early Egypt also turn out to be of the Aryan race. We are looking at the same people here, the reptile Aryan bloodlines which have held the reins of power from the ancient world to the present day.